Alex, I'm Tom Vasil.
And I'm Melody.
And welcome to Double Trouble. Today we're taking a look at
Paradox.
Now, Paradox is made by Split Second Games and is a game about aliens and rescuing present, past, and future aliens. And actually, what does it say on here?
It's like you're saving
disturbance, the quake is moving around, and you're fixing timelines. Yeah, and actually, it's kind of like Bejeweled, or other games where you try to get 4 in a row on your app, or iPad, or iPhone, or Android. Really, that's basically the main point of the game. Let's take a look. Game is to get the most points, and so you're going to do that by collecting sets. So each set makes, you'll see this is a C set, Ceronis, past, present, and future, and a nexus. So if you have 1 card, it's worth 1 point, 2 is worth 3, 3 is worth 6, and all 4 cards is worth 10. You also get bonus points at the end of the game for cards you have that match the symbols over here. So I would look at the symbols here, like this is alien minerals, and for every 3 of those I have, I would get 6 victory points. So, how do you get these sets? We're going to make a deck that's going to be shuffled together of the different planets. And the planets are also going to be placed here randomly around the outside. The game's going to take a certain number of turns here. You can see 12 turns that this is going to move around here. And meanwhile, you have the wave here. This is a nasty thing that's going to be destroying planets and messing planets up. Each player is going to have a board placed in front of them. And they're going to have a pile of tokens here that have 3 different symbols on them, X's, triangles, and circles, and that are different colors, black, white, yellow, red, and blue, 5 different colors. Now, the first part of each round, there's one player who's going to be the chief scientist. That player is going to draw some cards from the deck. The deck is made up of the different planet cards, and will also have some special cards in it that do various things based on whatever scenario players are playing. Each player then is going to be drawing cards from the stable wormhole or the unstable wormhole. When you take a card, so let's say for example I take this past card, I stick it on my board in the past area. If I took a nexus card, I would stick it in the nexus area, present, future. When you take the nexus card, you also place a blue token on that particular spot here in your grid, which kind of locks that in place. And you can have multiple cards in these places. The person who's the chief scientist, after everyone else has picked, can pick 2 cards from the area, or they can pick a card from their hand. The cards they don't choose from their hand and go back on top of the deck. Then players are going to be messing with their grids here. Now, when you change the things in your grid, you have a certain number of actions, and you're just going to switch tokens either with your grid or with these 3 that are an anomaly. You can only switch ones that have the same symbol on them. So for example, I could switch this blue circle with this red circle. I could switch this black X with this red X. Now that I've done so, I've made a row of 4 reds, which will come off the board like that. And a row of 4 turns into 1 of that color. A row of 5 would turn into 2 of that color. And I'm going to place these on a card that might need it. So I look here, this pass needs 3 energy of any color. So a red token would easily go on that. The nexus needs you to get an energy that includes the token there that's locked in place. The present ones will need 2 energy, so this one needs 2 yellow energy. And the future, so if I had taken this future one, this red energy would have been placed on it, and it would immediately score coming off the board. Once a card has enough energy, it can come off the board. You can also pay energy. Black and white energy can be used to fix planets. Now, why would you want to fix a planet? Well, as the game goes by, every time you score a card, whether it's past, present, or future, you're going to be moving the wave around. A past card moves at 5, a present moves at 3, and a future moves at 1. So let's say it's a past, it would move here, and then I gets turned over. Having I turned over is a bad thing because at the end of the game, anyone who has cards that have I on them score nothing. So you're probably going to want to get a black or white energy to heal this planet so that they score if you have eyes. You might not care. You could also put a shield on the planet that's not been destroyed yet, so that when it lands on it, it simply removes the shield rather than doing that. After you've scored a row, all these kind of drop down here like this, and then you'll pull more from the bag, and the bag will have a certain number of tokens in it based on the number of players, so that there's even amounts of each of the colors and symbols. And then you go to the next round. But before you go to a round, all the cards here will slide over one. If they slide off this danger spot, then they're gone. So if you need to finish them before they end, which is why the future ones have only one needed to get them, and the past and the Nexus ones have more and they're harder to get. This will continue each turn until the game is over, and at this point you will do the scoring like I told you previously. There's some things that will change based on different variants that you play. There's ways to have alliances that will give you extra victory points, and like I said, the different scenarios you put in can change. But most of the games are going to be about manipulating this to get rows to score these cards. Alright, so let's talk about the components first. What do you think of everything?
I really liked how the grid thing, that was the tokens.
Right.
I like the colors because they're normal colors, but it worked in this kind of case.
I guess. I thought it was kind of bland myself, like the X, triangle, circle, but I guess that makes for ease of switching them. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the art in the cards? Because each of the worlds, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever they go up to.
Like a different artist.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I thought it was really cool. Some art I like better than others, but that's kind of
Yeah, some art was like, another art was pretty neat. And it is fun. Melody and I both like panoramas when you get to put cards together and it forms a picture. That sort of thing is something I always am a fan of. Although, honestly, like I said at the beginning, the theme really wasn't
weird.
there, I guess. I never felt like I'm rescuing people. I always thought like, oh, I need to get 4 or 5 in a row. Now, getting 5 in a row is actually pretty difficult because you need to, not difficult, but harder because you need to get, because as soon as you get 4 in a row, it pops. So you need to get like 3 and then 1 and then drop 1 in the middle. What did you think about that whole changing shapes and scoring that?
I thought it was a lot of fun. The most annoying part of the game about the whole switching thing is the nebula. Like, when you can switch in the middle, the nebula card like stops it.
Right, there's a card that will show up in the nebula that cancels the middle, that so you can't switch them back and forth. You didn't like that?
No, but no one likes that.
What did you think about the method of switching? Because you can only switch shapes. Did you feel that was limiting, or? Not
really, because there's only 3 different shapes, so it wasn't that restricting. But I didn't. The whole luck thing. Sometimes you get really unlucky at like the beginning. You can get like different shapes, but not the colors that you need, and you have a slow start.
I feel like luck is definitely prevalent in the game, especially when you like need the 4th card of a set. It shows up. Now, one thing I didn't show you in the overview is those cards in the stable and unstable at the end of each round. The unstable cards go away forever. The stable ones move to the unstable and you draw more. It's a way to keep going through. But sometimes there's that card you really need. You have 3 cards in a set. You want the 4th card, so you grab it. It needs 2 yellows. You have a row of yellows in your thing. You score it. You get 1 yellow. And then no more yellows show up. And you keep scoring other lines, hoping that as you score them, you'll draw more yellow from the bag, and it doesn't happen. That can happen, has happened in games. And I would have liked the game more, I think, if I thought there was a way to mitigate that somehow. But that's a minor thing. I just didn't like that as much. What do you think about the wave or the quake or whatever it is moving around the middle, knocking planets out?
I like that thing because it gave it like another goal that you had to watch for. Like you had to make sure, like, oh, I'm getting these colors, these letters of the planets, and like you need to make sure they're not getting like dead, or what is it called?
Destroyed, or I don't know what says it here in the box.
Is the word?
It's removing planets from existence. That's even worse. But yeah, so I found that interesting. The fact that it moves 1, 3, or 5 based on past, present, or future means essentially it's moving randomly. I don't think anyone is planning to move it a certain
I guess you
space.
can, like, if you're about to score something, you can see what one it's going to land on, and if it's like a letter, you can like protect it ahead of time or something.
I guess, like you could sit there and go, I think Melody's going to do that present one on her next
I
turn.
didn't really ever look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of random, but then you got to fix the planets. That's more the thing. Or if you have an extra white or black line, you protect the planets that you're scoring a lot of. Of course, you know you can't get a complete set if someone else gets one of that set, so you have to keep an eye on that too. You might take a card of a set just so someone gets 6 points instead of 10. And then, of course, those Nexus cards are harder to score because you're basically locking a planet in place. Did you like them?
I did like it because it was like a different, instead of just a continual, oh, you just match this and this and this. It's like, okay, you can't move that one. You're going to have to maneuver a lot more pieces.
Right, that one won't even move when they're dropping down in place. It doesn't fill, they don't fill back in on that spot. What about the bonus things, the research goals, getting points for those at the end of the game?
Usually I only really looked at those if I was like looking for cards and I didn't see anything I wanted.
I agree with Melody. I feel like they were a very, very secondary thing. They definitely can score you points, but to me, you get way more points by getting the sets, and also it seems more fun to complete the sets. Yeah. You're just grabbing a card because it has this. I suppose you could do a strategy where you only collected those and messed up everyone else's sets. I just don't know that you'd be a fun person to play with. So, what's your overall thinking on the game?
It's an okay game. The luck kind of drove me away from it a bit because there's just so many different cards, and if you lose that one card you really need, it's really disappointing. So,
okay, but what's your final rating?
like a 5-ish.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I actually liked it more than Melody then. I'd give it a 6.5, maybe a 7, because I don't mind it. I found that it's an easy going game, and I just don't put too much stress on myself. I think that if you think too hard about the game, yeah, it's a 5, right? It's just because there is a lot of luck and stuff, but switching the discs and watching them kind of settle into place, I enjoyed that more. So that's Paradox. I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Melody.
And this has been Double Trouble.
Boom!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.